How's it going, YouTube? Coaching today with another video, and today, guys, what to bring to you is how to improve as a player. Now, improving as a player is really important to me because it's all about your mentality. Yu-Gi-Oh is way more than just a card game at hand, and it's really more about hand trapping and like learning how to beat a deck. It's also just about your mentality and how you can stay in a game even in a very tough spot. I see a lot of people go on tilt very fast in a lot of tournament matches, and that can just make you misplay and lose even faster than just like outright losing a game because you got like outgrinded, right? So this is something that I really wanted to bring to your attention because there are a lot of things in here that I see happen, and this is a list that I swear by because me improving over time didn't just come from me like learning decks and learning how to beat matchups. It also came from improving my own mentality because that also helped me a ton. So I do hope that this helps you guys. If you see something in here that really affects you when you're playing, definitely comment it down below and let me know. And because I think that's really cool that we can address things as a community and really help people improve. Because you'll see a couple things in here that you might be like, oh wow, I do that, like maybe I should stop. And hopefully that does help you though, because there are other ways to improve the game outside of just your own gameplay, which might be a shock, but it's something that we're gonna be talking about. I do want to take a moment though and thank you guys so much for all the support I'm getting. I'm already at 3,600 subs and I could not even imagine being here. I'm very excited to hit 5K though coming up soon. I will be hosting a big tournament and I'm kind of figuring out pricing right now, but once we get closer to 5K I'll make a really big announcement and see how we're gonna do everything. But I hope that you guys are excited for that too. If you guys are new in the channel, definitely go in the description below. I have my Twitter, my Discord, my Twitch. Feel free to join all of them. I'm going to be on Twitch very much so soon. I'm just kind of smoothing out my work schedule, and then I'll be able to stream a little bit more. So we have that. And then also, guys, I just always want to keep posting a lot of videos that help you as much as possible. So if you have any ideas for a video, just comment them down below because I'm always open to doing certain types of videos and like where to improve or like how to improve. So just definitely let me know because I want to be able to put the content out that you guys would love to see too. There's a lot of things that I still have to post. I am in the process of making a hand trap number 3, so definitely be on the outlook for that. There's a lot of decks that I'm putting into that I just kind of took a second look at and just really want to mention, just because you never know if you'll ever play against them. You need to know how to stop them, right? So without further ado, let's hop right into the video now. Again, this is my own personal list and things that I just swear by, and how I improved my own mentality, so hopefully they improve yours too. To start things off is don't lose your posture. If you're ever playing against someone and they like blow you out game 1, I see a lot of people where they go from like really excited to play the game to losing game 1 and all of a sudden they're like, then they're like this, or then they're like looking over their shoulder at like someone else's match and like they're not paying attention. They drop their hand. Like, I'm sure you guys have seen what I'm talking about, and it's so bad because like you need to be watching your opponent and what they're doing, because like if, let's say you're just going to get blown out game 1. You didn't open up a hand trap and you're playing as Drytron. You need to get as much information as possible. Let them do full combo. Did they activate pre-prep or did they use ultimateness? Like, are they playing Dragoon? Like, you need to know these things so you can properly side for them games 2 and 3, because that can really lead to like a reverse sweep 2-0, and that's really important to know. But what I see from a lot of people is that they actually just like slouch. They start looking over the side, and that's really bad because you auto accept that you're probably going to lose games 2 and 3 to just like being on tilt and just misplaying, and that happens a lot. But the more alert you are, the more focused you are, the better you can come back into a game and just be successful. And I never really want to see that because I don't want to see someone lose to themselves, right? Because like you could just have an unfortunate game 1 and like reverse sweep, because I've actually went to a regional where I lost game 1 and then came back and won the next 7 games. These are things that you guys just have to know, because the second that you lose to yourself, the whole tournament's over. It doesn't even matter, because then you lose that one match and then you're salty for the rest of the tournament, and then it's just never good for anyone. So never lose your posture. Just always be on top of it and always just try to keep that high energy and the high mindset, because when you go to a Yu-Gi-Oh event, like you're really happy, right? Like you're maybe a little nervous, but you're very happy. You're ready to play. You're playing with your friends. You're playing against new people. You're actually able to use it like IRL cards. It's a very good time. So like don't lose your posture and don't get mad over like the little things, right? Because you can always still win. Next thing I got for you here is don't psych yourself out. So if you ever see somebody with like a really expensive setup or like a really nice like spell ground, like calculator case, they have like a nice field center, don't ever think that you just auto lose to that, right? Because even if you're like not that confident in like your plays yet, you can still win that game, because if you know what your deck does at the end of the day, you are 80% better than every other player out there, because at least you know what your cards do in your own interactions. That'll help you win more often than not. So these are things that, like, no matter what your opponent does, no matter who they are, what they have in front of them, like, that doesn't affect like how you can just play against them, right? Like, you know the matchup, you know what your deck does, do your best that you can and leave it all on the table. Because like, let's say there's just somebody that you're losing to constantly at locals, right? You need to realistically put into your mind, like, okay, if I play against them again, like, let's just try to get one game on them. Like, we don't have to win the match, but like, let's get one game on them. And then you win that one game and you're like, all right, cool, let's do it again. And so you play against them again, you win like that one game, right? And then you beat them finally. Then all of a sudden your head and your mindset just go way up, and you start feeling like, oh my God, like I just did that. So now I can go beat other people that maybe I didn't think were out of my reach. So that's really important to me too, is like, no matter who they are, no matter what's in front of them, like, don't psych yourself out. Just act like they're just another person, you know, and you're just playing at a local. Like, I don't care what event you're at. Like, they are another person from locals, and like, you can win no problem. And this is something that I really had to like put through my mind because of how many people that play at my locals that are actually like super competitive and well known. So it's just something that you have to get through and just really do your best at the end of the day. And that might be a little corny, but like, it's really true. Like, as long as you leave it right out on the table, like, people notice that. So I just really want to implore to you, just don't psych yourself out. It's really just up to you and your own gameplay to win that match. It doesn't matter who they are. Next up is not all testing is real testing. I really have to like tell people this a lot. If you're on DB, you're on EDO Pro, you're on Nexus, these are things that are not real testing. You're going to be playing against a lot of like ancient gear. Maybe you play against like pure Melfi, you know, like you play against the most random things. Real testing to me is playing against the people that are just better than you. So like, we were just talking about the guy that like maybe you couldn't beat for a little while, right? Like, you should be seeking those people out actively, because it's really important to learn from people who are better than you, learn how they interact with you, learn what kind of hand traps they're playing, what kind of tech cards they're playing, and how can you apply that to your deck. And maybe your deck isn't that great for the current meta. Maybe you want to try out theirs or someone else's. Real testing comes when you actually actively seek out the people that can help you improve. And this is something that I cannot explain enough. Like, this is so important. Like, if you are just playing against the same people that you beat every week, like relentlessly, like it's really easy, you just shouldn't want to play against those people. You should be looking for people who are just much, much better. And even if you go to like a really hard tournament online, like let's say you go to like one of those Ironmans and you're playing against a team that's really well known, the amount that you can learn from that is just like priceless. So I really do hope that you guys take that in consideration, that not all testing is real testing, but seeking out real testing is very important. Moving on to the next point here. Losing is the best coach. So these kind of tie in together a little bit here, because losing, this is something that even I still do, is like, I'll play too fast. I won't interact with my opponent on the right card. I will try out a new line of play and then I'll lose, or like, I'll like mess up my combo, right? The only thing I do is I kind of like sit back, set up, and I go, all right, won't do that again. And then I just play forward, because if you just tell yourself like, okay, won't do that again, take a big mental note of it and just move forward, there's nothing better that you can do for yourself, because losing just teaches you so much. Like, again, this is another thing that's like corny, but you guys have to know this, because losing at the end of the day, like, it sucks, but I've learned way so much from losing, because like a lot of times it was like back when I was playing Striker Mirrors, like first learning the deck, and I was learning like how they were able to beat me. So like now when I play Striker, I know like, okay, cool, if I clear out all the Raid from the grave, like Shark Hand and whatnot, I have a really high chance of winning that game. And these are little tips and tricks that you can pick up just from losing and watching what your opponent's doing, because they have the better tech card, they have the better way of playing the deck. And I played Striker for like, what, 3 years now? And I'm still learning things about the deck every day. So these are things that you really just have to take into consideration. And whenever you lose, just go back and like wonder why and just try to figure out like what they did better. Or maybe it was just coming down to deck building. And maybe you need to change up some cards in your deck. And some cards you're just not seeing very often. That's one thing with me and like jamming waves. Like I never thought I would ever cut jamming waves, and then I did. And now I've never missed that card. So it's very, very important to, when you lose, just really try to learn from it. Don't get salty. Just really look back on the game and be like, all right, why did I lose? And just understand why you did. Moving forward, we have playing every deck. Now, this might be like a little daunting, but if you are on DB, EDO Pro, Nexus, Omega, if you're on any of these apps, just pick up like Prank Kids, for example. If you've never played Prank Kids before, pick up the deck on there for like, I don't know, 10 games and just kind of learn the combo. And so what you do with that is you learn vital choke points that you can use to interact with your opponent. Let's say it's not even like just a hand trap situation. Like you just need to learn interactions, and like if you have a call by the grave, like when's the best time I can call by the grave them? And these are things that are very, very important, but you have to play the deck to really learn it, because you can only learn so much from playing against it. But when you actually play the deck and see the combos, these are things that are just like, again, priceless. You have to know what the deck does before you can learn how to beat it. And this is why I really like playing it, because then you know all the cards that you just need to hit. Because I remember back when like I didn't know what Drytron did, and so I actually picked up Drytron, and then I was like playing it online for a lot, and then I learned like all the vital choke points, and that's why I'm able to do these hand trap videos for you guys about like all of these random decks, because I have such like a reservoir of decks in my head right now that I can just like pick from and be like, oh, this is exactly what you need to stop them. And a lot of people are like, whoa, how do you know that? And that's because I literally play every deck. So if you guys go in the description below and find my Twitch link, you guys can actually join that, and when I'm live, you will literally see me playing every deck that gets announced. Every new card that comes out, I'll find uses for them. And that's because if you play every deck, you can easily beat every deck, because you will know exactly what to side in and where to hit them. Moving forward is review all games. Now, this isn't just your losses. You should be reviewing your wins too. And this is like, I don't know, like mind-blowing for certain people, but reviewing your wins is so important, because like even if you won, it doesn't mean that you won the cleanest. Like you probably could have won like a turn or two earlier, especially if you're playing combo. And there's things that you can always improve upon. Like, okay, if I didn't do A, then maybe B wouldn't have happened, and I would have been able to win here instead of here. Oh, I did this. This might have been like too risky for like Nibiru, or if they had like a certain card, like I would have lost. And it's basically just telling you like how to not overextend. And like even reviewing your losses too is very, very important. But like again, with your wins, like you don't always win because you won. Sometimes you won because like your opponent did something poor, and that's where you easily could have lost. And again, these are things that you're like, okay, I definitely won, but I should not have won that game. Let's review why I didn't win that. Like, because even if you did win, sometimes I don't consider it as a win in my head, because I'm like, man, I would have lost if that didn't happen, you know? And so there's always ways to improve and go back and beating those players. Next up here is reviewing old deck lists. This is something that's kind of phased out for some reason that's really important. I see a lot of people just kind of not doing this, which is kind of wild to me. This is how I know cards like Balbaboon and old things that are really still meta-relevant cards. Even if they're not relevant right now, these are things that can be applied later on, right? So if we have cards in the sideboard here, this was from quite a while ago, but like Droll was played here, but like we didn't play Droll again for like a while. And so that's where Droll came back in the format, and all of a sudden the card was like amazing, right? And this is because you can review older deck lists, and we see cards not in this picture, but like Forbidden Chalice, that was a really old one that gets used a ton. Maybe one day in the future we'll use Breakthrough Skill again, or if you look through their extra deck and you're like, oh, we have this card. I think this is like Lancelot. Lancelot's insane because you can make Lancelot attack directly and make Zeus. So there's a lot of things that can be applied later on in the game by going back on YouTube like 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, looking at their sideboards. Cards like Eradicator, this card's been meta relevant in and out of the game multiple times. And it's really important to just really get this kind of information, because the more you have, the more ahead you are. Whenever you see a new card come out, you're like, wow, we can use it with this card. And it's really just building your own database in your head. That's what I really like about reviewing old deck lists, is because it can give you the right tech before a tournament. So if you're ever like struggling before a tournament, like, hey, what should I do for my side? Just look at old decks. Find decks that are similar to your deck, and then look at their side deck. Very, very important, very cool information to have. Now, last but not least, one of the most important bits of information that I can give you in all of Yu-Gi-Oh's time: treat every round. Every round. I don't care if you're at a local, I don't care if you're at a regional, like it's round one of a YCS. Because if you, let's say that you are like round two at a local, right? Treat it like it's round one of a YCS and you just don't want to lose your first round. It'll alleviate every bit of pressure off of your shoulders, as even if you're like super nervous, right? It's round one. You're going to play against some random person out of like 2,000 people, like a hypothetical YCS, right? Like, what are the odds you play against something relevant, you know? So like, that's my mindset. Is I sit down, I'm like, man, it's just some dude. Like, I'm gonna run through him, you know? It'll be an easy 2-0. And that's like a really solid mindset to have, is just sit down, don't be nervous. It's just like, even if it's like round three, right? Like, it's round one. Like, who cares? You're gonna sit down, you're gonna win your game, and you're gonna feel good, and then you're gonna go on to round two. But that's also round one. So this is something that I feel is one of the best bits of information I ever got. Because it's honestly helped my mindset so much, because I used to be so nervous going into games. I used to be so nervous, like before events, but like now I'm just thinking about it like this, and I'm like, man, like we got this, you know? So I hope that this video does help you guys at the end of the day. Again, these videos are a lot of fun for me to make. So this one in particular is definitely a little different, because we're talking about a bit more of the psychology side of things. But it's still very important to know, because these are things that can really help your gameplay at the end of the day. If you guys are new here, again, subscribe, because we are pushing for that 5K. I'm very excited for it, honestly, because that big tournament that's going to happen is going to be really killer. I'm excited. I'll be live streaming that too, and then we'll be getting some cool prizes. I'm going to figure out what that's going to be, but we'll figure that out soon. So I hope that everyone has a wonderful day. And again, if any of these were something that did affect you playing the game so far, definitely let me know down in the comments below. I always love hearing different stories and how people are just going to be improving. So everyone have a great day, and I'll catch you guys all in the next video. Thanks.